They told me the rules were simple. Rule number 1, don't get caught. Rule number 2, don't fall in love. And rule number 3, never, ever look Min Ho Kong in the eyes. I broke all 3. I was sent to Seoul to destroy the heir of the 7-star syndicate. Instead, I became the only thing standing between him and a bullet. My name is Nia, and by the time you hear this recording, I might already be dead. Seoul is a city of mirrors. Everyone has 2 faces. The face they show the world, and the face they hide in the dark. For the last 6 months, I've been living a lie. To the world, I am Nia Adebayo, a freelance art consultant from Lagos looking to invest in Korean galleries. It's a good cover. It explains why I'm at the parties, why I'm in the VIP rooms, why I'm close to him. Target is moving to the Orchid Room. You have a 10-minute window, Nia. Clone his phone, get the ledger, and get out. Do not engage. I repeat, do not engage. Do not engage. Easy for them to say. They've never stood 5 feet away from Min Ho Kong. They call him the Ice Prince of the Syndicate. Ruthless. Calculated. A monster in a bespoke suit. But monsters are supposed to be scary. They aren't supposed to look so lonely. Tonight is the annual Chaotic Gala. The one night the 7 Stars family pretends to be legitimate businessmen. It's my only chance. If I fail, my agency disavows me. If I get caught, the Han River gets another body. The room smelled of expensive cologne and fear. I moved through the crowd, keeping my head high. In this world, if you look like prey, you get eaten. If you look like a queen, they hesitate. I needed them to hesitate. I scanned the room, ignoring the stares of the curious and the jealous. Being a black woman in this circle made me visible and invisible at the same time. They saw the outsider, but they didn't see the threat. There he was, Min Ho Kong. He didn't look like a man who ran a billion-dollar criminal empire. He looked bored. He stared at the champagne flute in front of him like he wanted to shatter it. But I knew better. That boredom was a mask. Underneath, it was a predator waiting for a reason to bite. Just 5 minutes, I thought. Just stay close enough for the data transfer. I signaled the bartender for a drink, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. My handler's voice buzzed in my ear, counting down the seconds. But then the air shifted. The chatter in the room seemed to dampen. You're not drinking the champagne. My blood ran cold. He wasn't supposed to notice me. I was supposed to be furniture. Beautiful, expensive furniture. I forced a smile, the kind I practiced in the mirror 1,000 times. I prefer my wit sharp, Mr. Kong. Champagne dulls the senses. Minho stood up. He was taller than he looked in the surveillance photos, broad-shouldered in a way that the expensive Italian cut of his suit couldn't hide. He walked out of the booth and stepped into my personal space. The download bar on my contact lens display paused at 45%. And what exactly do you need sharp senses for at a boring charity gala? Unless you're hunting. He knows. The thought screamed in my head. Abort. Abort. But I couldn't move. His eyes were dark, like the bottom of a well. And for a second, I saw something flicker in them. Not suspicion. Recognition. We're all hunting something, aren't we? Some hunt power. Some hunt recognition. And you? What is the African queen hunting in my city? The download bar hit 99%. Then error. Red light. My earpiece screeched with static. Security sweep. They're jamming the signal. Get out, Nia. Now. I want to step back, to disappear into the crowd, but his hand shot out. He grabbed my wrist. His grip was iron, unyielding. But his touch was burning hot against my skin. Don't leave yet. The music is just starting. And I think you have something of mine. I calculated the odds. I could disable him in 3 moves. Break his wrist, strike the throat, run. But that would blow my cover instantly. So I let him pull me into the shadows. I let him think he had caught a thief. I didn't know I was walking into a cage. The elevator doors closed, cutting off the noise of the party instantly. Silence filled the small metal box. Minho pressed the button for the penthouse. He turned to me, cornering me against the mirrored wall. Who sent you? My brother? The triads? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm an art consultant. An art consultant who carries a military-grade, localized scanner in a designer clutch? Do not lie to me. He reached out and took my purse. He opened it, pulled out the device, and crushed it in his hand effortlessly. He tossed the pieces on the floor. You have 10 seconds to tell me why I shouldn't throw you off this balcony. 1, 2. I'm not working for your brother. I'm working for myself. 3, 4. You're lying. Your pulse is steady. You're trained. Maybe I just don't scare easily. He stopped counting. He leaned in, his face inches from mine. He smelled of whiskey and danger. Good, because I don't need a spy. I need a wife. The world stopped. Of all the things I expected him to say, a threat, an interrogation, a bullet, this was impossible. Excuse me. My father is forcing an arranged marriage to merge our syndicate with the Busan clan. If I marry their daughter, I'll lose control of my business. I need a distraction. I need a scandal. I need someone completely unexpected. He looked me up and down, not with lust, but with calculation. You want access to my world? You want my secrets? Fine, you can have them. Be my fake fiancé for 3 months. Help me secure my position. And in return, I'll give you whatever data you were trying to steal tonight. It was a trap. I knew it was a trap, but it was also the perfect entry point. The agency would kill for this level of access. Living in his house, sleeping in his room, watching his every move. And if I refuse, then the elevator doors open and my security team escorts you to the basement. You won't like the basement. 3 months, and I get full access to the archives. Deal. But be warned, Nia, in this house the walls have ears, and my family eats outsiders for breakfast. The elevator doors slid open completely. The penthouse was massive, a cavern of gray marble and black steel. It was breathtaking, but completely devoid of warmth. Rain lashed against the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the entire glowing city of Seoul. I stepped out, my heels clicking loudly on the stone floor. I stepped into his world, and the temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. It wasn't a home. It was a fortress. No photos on the walls. No personal clutter. Just expensive emptiness. It was the home of a man who didn't plan on living long enough to make memories. Make yourself comfortable, but don't touch the West Wing. That's my office. You go in there, the deal is off, and the security system will likely break your arm before you get to the desk. Charming. And where do I sleep? The couch. Minho walked to a bar cart and poured himself another drink. He didn't look at me as he spoke. The staff arrives at 6 a.m. They report everything to my father. If we are sleeping in separate rooms, he will know. If he knows, he will assume the engagement is a sham. And if he assumes that, I get it. The basement. Precisely. You sleep in the master bedroom. I'll take the chaise in the corner. It's not the first time I've slept with one eye open. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. He tossed it to me. I caught it with one hand. Put on. I opened the box. Inside sat a diamond ring large enough to be a weapon. It glittered coldly under the recessed lights. Subtle. It's not a gift, Nia. It's a target. Wearing that ring tells every enemy I have that you are my weakness. It tells my brother he can get to me through you. Do you understand? You're not just wearing a diamond. You're wearing a bull's eye. I looked at the ring. In my line of work, we are taught that jewelry is a sentimental clutter. But as I slid the cold metal onto my finger, it felt heavy. Like a shackle. Or maybe like armor. I can handle your brother. I can handle your enemies. Just keep your end of the bargain. Access to the archives. Survive dinner tomorrow at the main estate first. Then we'll talk about archives. The next morning, a sleek black convoy of SUVs wound its way up a mountain road. The scenery changed from the urban sprawl of Seoul to dense, misty pine forests. The main Kong estate was a modern fortress built in the traditional Hanok style. Curved roofs, dark wood, surrounded by high concrete walls. The Kong estate wasn't just a house. It was the seat of power for the 7-star syndicate. It sat on the mountain like a sleeping dragon. Minho had been silent the entire drive, his jaw tight. He looked like a soldier going to war, not a son going home for dinner. He adjusted his cuffs. He glanced at me. I was wearing a sleek, modest navy dress, my hair pulled back in a sharp bun. I looked elegant, formidable. Listen to me carefully. My father, Chairman Kong, values 2 things, loyalty and bloodline. You have neither. He will try to break you. He will insult you. Do not react emotionally. If you show fear, he wins. If you show anger, he wins. And what happens if I win? Nobody wins against the chairman. You just survive him. And watch out for Ji-hoon, my brother. He has been waiting for me to slip up for 10 years. Bringing an outsider into the family is the biggest slip-up I've ever made. The car stopped. Servants in uniform lined the entrance. They bowed deeply as Min-ho exited. He walked around and opened my door, a performance for the staff. He offered his arm. Smile. You're in love. I'm swooning. We walked through the massive wooden doors. The interior was dimly lit, smelling of incense and old wood. We entered the dining hall. A long, low table was set. Sitting at the head was Chairman Kong, an elderly man with eyes like flint. To his right, Ji-hoon, a man in a flashy suit with a cruel smile, and his wife Eun-ji, who looked nervous, her eyes fixed on the table. So, the rumors are true. The prodigal son returns, and he brought a pet. I didn't need a translator to know he was insulting me. The tone was universal, but I kept my face blank. A perfect mask of confusion and politeness. Watch your tongue, Ji-hoon. This is my fiancée. Father, this is Nia. Chairman Kong didn't blink. He stared at me for a long, uncomfortable silence. He didn't bow. He didn't nod. Sit. We sat. Servants brought out course after course. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Ji-hoon stared at me openly, dissecting my appearance. So, Nia, where did my brother find you? A club? A brothel in Itaewon? It is rare to see your kind at this table. Min-ho's hand clenched into a fist on his lap. I saw it. I placed my hand over his, stopping him. I work in art, Ji-hoon. I specialize in finding beauty in places where others lack the vision to look. Min-ho and I met at a gallery. We bonded over a shared appreciation for authentic things. Authentic, right? And do you know who we are? Do you know what this family does? Or are you just here for the black card? I know enough. A servant placed a bowl of extremely spicy jampong, spicy seafood noodle soup, in front of me. It was red, steaming, and clearly a test. Eun-ji looked at me with pity. Please, eat. It is a traditional welcome dish. But perhaps it is too strong for a foreign palate. It was a childish test. They expected me to choke, to cough, to reach for water and look weak. They didn't know I grew up on Nigerian pepper soup that could strip paint off a wall. This wasn't heat. This was breakfast. I picked up the spoon. I ate a large mouthful. I didn't flinch. I didn't reach for water. I looked Ji-hoon dead in the eye and took another bite. Delicious. The spice profile is excellent, though it could use a little more garlic. Ji-hoon's smile faltered. Min-ho hid a smirk behind his water glass. The chairman watched, intrigued. He spoke in Korean to Ji-hoon, assuming I couldn't understand. She has a stomach at least. But does she have a brain? Ask her about the merger. They thought I couldn't understand. That was their mistake. My agency trained me for 6 months. I knew the language. I knew the dialects. I knew the slang. She's a gold digger, father, Ji-hoon replied in Korean. Look at her. She brings nothing to the family. No connections. No land. Just dark skin and empty hands. Min-ho is shaming us just to avoid the Busan marriage. Min-ho was about to explode. He started to stand up. That is enough. I interrupted him. I spoke in perfect, fluent Korean. I may not bring land, brother-in-law, but I bring something you seem to lack. The entire table froze. Even his servants stopped moving. Ji-hoon's jaw literally dropped. The chairman's eyes widened slightly. Min-ho looked at me, stunned. I bring discretion. I bring loyalty. And I bring the ability to spot a snake in the grass before it bites. You speak of shame? Shame is inviting a guest to your table and insulting them in a language you think they are too stupid to understand. That is not power, Ji-hoon. That is cowardice. Silence. Absolute, heavy silence. The only sound was the rain outside. I calmly picked up my chopsticks and picked up a piece of radish. I had broken protocol. A spy never reveals her skills unless necessary. But I wasn't just a spy in that moment. I was a woman, and I was done being talked down to. You speak. Ji-hoon stammered. Huh. The chairman laughed suddenly, a dry, rasping sound. He leaned forward. For the first time, He looked at me with something other than disdain. Respect? No, but interest. She has teeth. Good. The Busan girl has no teeth. She cries if she breaks a nail. Minho, perhaps you are not as foolish as I thought. I told you, father. Nia is full of surprises. We shall see. Speaking the language is one thing. Surviving this life is another. You stay. For now. But know this, girl. The chairman's face was skeletal in the low light. If you're lying to me, if you're here to spy, or to steal, or to harm my son, I will not kill you. I will make you wish you had never been born. If I were here to harm your son, Chairman, you would already be dead. I shouldn't have said it. It was too bold, too dangerous. But I saw Minho look at me, and in that look the ice melted just a little bit. He wasn't looking at a fake fiancé anymore. He was looking at a partner. Dinner concluded. Minho and I walked down the corridor of the estate toward the exit. We were alone for a moment in the courtyard. You speak Korean? Fluent Korean? Why didn't you tell me? You didn't ask. Besides, a wife should have some secrets, shouldn't she? You almost gave Ji-hoon a heart attack. That was reckless. That was necessary. Your father respects strength. I gave him strength. Minho stopped. He grabbed my arm, turning me to face him. The moonlight hit his face. He looked conflicted. My father respects nothing but control. You just painted a bigger target on your back. Ji-hoon will not forgive that humiliation. He will come for you now. Let him come. I'm not afraid of a bully in a Gucci suit. You should be. You don't know what they did to the last woman I cared about. A moment of vulnerability. I saw pain in his eyes. A flash of a past trauma. Before I could ask, I heard the snap of a twig. Then I saw the red laser that appear on the stone pillar next to my head. Instinct took over. Not the fake fiancé. The agent. Down! I tackled Minho, shoving him hard to the ground, just as a bullet chipped the stone where his head was a second ago. The sound of the shot echoed like thunder. Chaos erupted. Security shouted. Minho and I were on the ground, tangled together in the dirt. I was on top of him, shielding his body with mine. I pulled a small, concealed blade from my garter. Another secret revealed. Minho was breathless, staring at the knife in my hand. Who are you, really? Your wife. For now. Stay down. Gunfire cracked again, closer this time, splintering an ornamental lantern above us. Porcelain rained down. I felt grit hit my cheek, tasted dust and copper on my tongue. Somewhere in the courtyard, someone was screaming orders in Korean. Heavy boots thundered over stone. I stayed low, pressing Minho's head against my chest, my body shielding his as more shots erupted. The guard detail had finally shaken off their shock and were moving, yelling, returning fire. I scanned the dark edges of the courtyard, eyes tracking movement, searching for muzzle flashes. There, a rooftop left side, 2 o'clock. A faint shimmer where rain hit something that wasn't stone. I shifted my weight, preparing to move. Stay down. I hissed again. That's my line, he muttered, voice muffled against my shoulder. Another shot, too far left, panicked now. Our shooter knew the window was closing. I rolled, dragging Minho with me behind a thicker pillar just as plaster exploded where we'd been lying. 2 guards reached us, breathless, guns up. Boss, are you? South roof. I snapped before Minho could answer. Angle's bad from here. He'll go for extraction, east wall. They hesitated a fraction of a second, eyes flicking to Minho for confirmation. His gaze was on me, sharp, studying. You heard her, he finally said. Move. They took off, shouting into earpieces. Within seconds, the entire estate roared to life. Alarm bells, slamming doors, engines turning over. I could picture the shooter already disappearing into the forest. Professionals never stayed to watch their work. My breathing was loud in my ears. Too loud. Adrenaline hummed under my skin. I realized only then that I was still straddling him, my thighs braced on either side of his hips, one hand planted on the stone beside his head, the other gripping the knife. His hand closed around my wrist, not to disarm me, just stopping me. Holding. I asked you a question, he said quietly, the chaos of the courtyard fading to a dull roar around us. Who are you really? For a moment, it would have been so easy to tell him everything. Name the agency. Name the mission. offload the weight that had been crushing my chest for months. But I hadn't survived this long by being sentimental. I'm the reason you're still breathing, I said instead. That's all you need to know tonight. His eyes darkened. I could see it. Offense, curiosity, anger, respect, swirling together in that unreadable gaze. He released my wrist slowly, fingers dragging over my skin with deliberate friction. A warning and a promise. Get up, he said, before my father sees you like this and dies of either shock or satisfaction. I pushed off him and stood, sliding the knife back into its hidden sheath. My dress was ruined, the navy fabric smeared with dirt and dust. Minho rose more gracefully, suit slightly disheveled, but somehow still expensive enough to intimidate. Guards circled us in a tight formation, ushering us inside. The chairman appeared at the corridor's far end, flanked by more men. His expression was thunderous. Inside, now, he snapped. They hustled us into a side room, a study with darkwood shelves and the smell of old tobacco. The door slammed. For a second, no one spoke. Chairman Kang's eyes raked over me, then his son. You were almost killed, Minho, he said in Korean, voice low and icy. In my house, under my roof, while distracted by a woman. A sniper doesn't materialize because of a woman, father, Minho answered in the same language, jaw tight. Someone gave them our schedule. The chairman's gaze flicked just once to me. I warned you my enemies would target her, he continued. But perhaps that was the point. A shared grave is still a grave. I kept my face neutral, though something in my stomach twisted. Shared grave. They really did raise their sons on poetry and violence here. Whoever pulled that trigger wasn't aiming for me, I said, switching to Korean deliberately. Both men looked at me. They had a clear line on my head first. I saw that the chairman's eyes narrowed, recalculating. So they wanted chaos, Minho said, or a message. A test, I added, of your security, of your reaction, of mine. Silence stretched. The chairman stepped closer until he was only an arm's length away. Up close, I could see the age in the lines around his mouth, the faint tremor in his hand as he adjusted his sleeve. Power had a cost. You moved before my guards, he said. You took the bullet's place. Why? Survival instinct, I answered. If you lose your heir here, everything shifts. Power vacuums are messy. I don't like mess. He stared at me a long moment, then snorted. She lives, he said finally. For now, whoever sent that shooter will try again, and again, until one of you is cold. He turned to Minho. Take her home. Tighten your circle. And for once in your reckless life, use your head. The ride back to the penthouse was thick with unsaid words. Rain streaked down the windows, blurring the neon outside into smeared color. Minho sat beside me, jacket off, shirt collar loosened, a faint smear of dirt on his cheekbone. I could feel him looking at my hands, the faint tremor that hadn't gone away yet. You're shaking, he said. I just body slammed a mob boss in front of his ancestors, I replied. I'm allowed. His mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. That fall scraped your shoulder, he said. You're bleeding. Only then did I feel the sting, sharp, insistent, radiating from my right side. I glanced down and saw the tear in the dress, the dark wetness seeping through. It's nothing, I lied automatically. Just a scratch. Nia. My name in his mouth did something dangerous to my pulse. If you pass out and die in my car, it will be terribly inconvenient. For both of us. He leaned forward, speaking quietly to the driver in Korean. Take us home. Call Dr. Han. Full kit. The penthouse looked different when we returned. Less like a fortress, more like a stage. Every corner, every camera, every reflective surface a reminder that someone, somewhere, was always watching. Dr. Han was waiting, middle-aged, efficient, eyes too sharp for comfort. He barely glanced at me before setting up on the kitchen island. Shirt off, he said briskly. It's a dress, I replied dryly, but my hands went to the zipper anyway. Minho made a sound and turned away, uncharacteristically awkward. I'll give you privacy, he said. You've already watched me tackle you to the floor, I muttered. But sure, respect my modesty now. Still, I appreciated the space. I slid the ruined dress down and perched on a bar stool in my bra and a thin slip, the air cool against my skin. The graze on my shoulder looked worse than it was, a long, angry line where stone had kissed flesh. Dr. Han cleaned it with practiced hands, his movements brusque but not unkind. "You've had proper training," he remarked in lightly accented English. "You fell with your weight distributed. No broken bones. Clumsy women don't marry into this family, right?" I said. "Strict selection criteria." One of his eyebrows lifted. "Smart mouth. Dangerous here." He taped the bandage in place and wrapped my shoulder tightly. "No swimming. No strenuous movement with the right arm for a few days," he said. "Though, knowing your new life, you will ignore that." When he left, I reached for the dress. My arm zinged with pain. I swore under my breath. "I'll get you something else," came Minho's voice from the doorway. He stepped in, holding one of his crisp dress shirts. White, starched. It would swallow me. "Did you go shopping in the 10 minutes I was on the counter?" I asked. He ignored the comment and held the shirt out. "Put this on," he said. "We need to review what happened tonight." I slid off the stool, trying not to grimace as the bandage pulled, and slipped my arms into the sleeves. The fabric was cool, smelling faintly of his cologne, cedar, smoke, something darker. It hung past mid-thigh on me, swallowing my curves. "Comfortable?" he asked. Define comfortable. He looked like he wanted to say something else, but swallowed it. We sat in the living area, opposite ends of the same couch. Between us, a low glass table, 2 untouched glasses of whiskey, the silence stretching. "Who taught you to move like that?" he asked first. "The way you reacted. That's not self-defense for rich girlfriends." I tilted my head. "Who taught you to crush illegal hardware with your bare hands in an elevator?" I countered. "We all have our secrets. I don't need more mysteries in my life, Nia. You also don't need a Busan bride, but here we are." Something flickered in his eyes at that, a shadow of bitterness. "Tonight proved you are a liability and an asset," he said slowly. "The shooter, the way you handled my family, the language. My father will be thinking. Ji-hoon will be plotting. And you," his gaze dropped to the ring on my finger. "You are in the center of their calculations now. Wasn't that the point of your grand proposal?" I asked. "To throw a grenade into their plans?" "Yes," he said quietly. But I did not expect the grenade to throw itself. Against my will, a laugh escaped me. It startled both of us. For the first time since I'd met him, his expression softened without irony. "You did well," he added, almost grudgingly. "At dinner. You earned my father's interest." "Interest feels a lot like being circled by a shark," I said, "just with better suits." His phone buzzed. He checked the screen, jaw tightening. "Ji-hoon." "Let me guess," I said. "He's very concerned about your well-being." He sent a picture. He turned the phone so I could see. A grainy shot of me in the courtyard, body over his, knife in hand. It had been taken from one of the estate's higher balconies. Below the photo was a short message in Korean. "Nice reflexes. Does she move like that in bed?" The anger that flared in my chest was hot and immediate. "He really has a talent for dying young," I muttered. "It's bait," Minho said. "You want me to react, to rush, to make mistakes. Then don't," I replied. "React, I mean, not outwardly." And inwardly, I looked at him, really looked, at the tension in his shoulders, the faint tremor in his fingers that matched mine, the shadow in his eyes. Inwardly, I said softly, "You can punch a wall when I'm not looking." The corner of his mouth lifted, but his gaze stayed on the screen. "He'll escalate," he said. "He always does. Gifts, rumors, poison for the mind." "Let him," I answered. "I've dealt with worse men than your brother." "I doubt that." He stood abruptly. "We start tomorrow," he said. "Start what?" "The performance. Engaged couples walk a certain way. They touch. They argue about stupid things in front of staff. They have rituals, routines." His eyes met mine. "If we're going to survive 3 months, we need them to believe the act. Completely." My stomach did a slow, traitorous twist. "So," I said, "you're asking me to what?" "Hold your hand." "And more," he said bluntly. "Not here. Not with cameras. But outside at the docks, at the river, in the markets we control, in the restaurants we own. You will be at my side. You will smile when I smile, frown when I frown, whisper in my ear like you're telling me secrets, and I will touch you like you are mine. Something electric skated down my spine. I thought you don't like mysteries, I said. Whispering might confuse you. He ignored the jab. There's a price for access to my archives, he said. It's this. My life on your body. In public. I should have said no. I should have demanded the data first, set clear boundaries, kept the lines from blurring. Instead, I found myself nodding. Fine, I said. But if you ever dip me for a kiss in front of your father, I'm breaking your ribs. Noted, he replied. Get some sleep. Tomorrow, the city meets my future wife. Sleep didn't come easily. When it did, it was fractured, full of red dots and cold eyes, and Minho's hand closing around my wrist. I woke before dawn, the penthouse still and quiet, the air heavy with the faint hum of the city below. The other side of the bed was empty. The chaise in the corner was untouched. Typical. I dressed quickly, dark jeans, black sweater, flats. Clothes I could move in. The ring stayed on. Taking it off, even in private, felt like inviting disaster. I padded out into the main living area, expecting silence. Instead, I found a faint clink of metal, the soft rinse of water. Minho stood by the kitchen counter, sleeves rolled up, hair slightly messed from fingers instead of comb. In front of him lay a small bowl filled with coins. Next to it, a thermos and 2 paper cups. You're up early, I said. He didn't startle, which told me he'd heard me coming from the hallway. Couldn't sleep, he replied. Thought you'd still be out. Trauma dreams wait for no woman. He put the last coin in the bowl and picked it up. Come with me, he said. Where? You wanted access to my world, he said. Consider this a tour. The car ride was shorter this time, cutting through empty pre-dawn streets. The city was different before sunrise. Less noise, more secrets. We stopped by the river, where the water moved slow and dark under the first blush of light. He walked ahead, down to the edge, where a small stone platform jutted out. I followed, the air cold on my face. It's tradition, he said quietly. My mother believed that if you throw a coin into the river at dawn, you can buy a little luck. Just a day's worth. No more. She sounded practical, I said. She was. He knelt and began flicking the coins one by one into the water. The soft plunk, plunk, plunk of metal hitting the surface was oddly soothing. She did it every morning, he continued, even when my father had already bought all the luck the world could offer. She said it wasn't for him. It was for us. For me. For my brother. Does Ji-hoon still come here? I asked. His expression cooled. He hasn't been here since the funeral. A beat. She died because of us, he said. Because of this life. A car bomb meant for my father. Wrong place, wrong time. Wrong woman. I watched him, the tension in his shoulders, the tiny crack in his armor. I'm sorry, I said quietly. You don't have to be, he replied. You didn't plant the bomb. No, I agreed. But I know what it's like to lose someone to a job that was never supposed to touch them. He looked at me then. Not at my body, not at my ring, but at my eyes. Something unspoken passed between us, a shared language of grief. You were close to someone, he said. Not question. A partner, I answered. Field. Lagos. Wrong intel. Wrong night. I lived. She didn't. Another coin, another plunk. For a long time, I told myself feeling nothing was strength. I went on, surprising myself with the honesty spilling out. No attachments, no grief, no distractions. Just the mission. It makes you efficient. Until you wake up one day and realize you don't remember the sound of their laugh. You still remember hers? He asked. On good days. He handed me a coin. The metal was warm from his palm. Buy some luck, he said softly. I hesitated, then flicked it into the water. For what? He asked. Not dying in your father's house, I said lightly. Or maybe for not falling for the man I was sent to destroy. His breath caught. Just a fraction. Just enough. You really are terrible at following rules, he said. So are you, I answered. We stood in silence for a while, watching the river carry our wishes away. The world was softer in that blue hour between night and day. For a moment, I could almost forget why I was here. Almost. By 10, we were back in full costume. The first stop was one of the docks the Kong syndicate controlled. Shipping containers, cranes, workers in uniforms that meant nothing and everything. The moment our car pulled up, I felt eyes on us, assessing, cataloging, judging. "Remember," he said under his breath as a group of lieutenants approached. "You're not afraid." "I'm never afraid," I replied. He reached for my hand then. His fingers laced through mine, warm and sure. "Now you are mine," he murmured, low enough that only I could hear. "At least until we get back in the car." Lou, his second in command, met us halfway. Tall, scarred, the kind of man who had seen too many things and survived all of them. "Boss," Lou said, bowing his head. His eyes slid to me, quick, sharp. "Ma'am." "Get used to saying that," Min-ho said. "You'll be hearing a lot." I squeezed his hand slightly, playing the part. "I wanted to see where he works," I said lightly. "I need to know what I'm marrying, don't I?" Some of the men chuckled. Lou did not. "We cleaned up the leak," Lou said in Korean. "No more shipments without triple checks. The Busan clan has been sniffing around, but we've held the line." "Good," Min-ho answered. "I don't want Ji-hoon using this place as an excuse to call me careless." He tugged me closer slightly, hands sliding from my fingers to the small of my back. It was a possessive touch, calculated for the audience. My body reacted anyway, a traitor. "Show her the manifest system," he said. "She likes art. Maybe she'll like numbers." "I like patterns," I corrected. "They usually lead to who's stealing." One of the younger lieutenants snorted, then coughed when Lou glared at him. As they walked us through the operations, I played my role, curious, bright, just naive enough to be charming. Underneath, my mind was working, cataloging camera locations, access points, the rhythm of patrols. Twice, I caught men looking at me like I was a temporary decoration. Both times, I met their gaze and held it until they looked away. Word would spread. The boss's new woman had fangs. By afternoon, we were at a restaurant, a high-end place in Gangnam where politicians like to pretend they weren't dining with criminals. We sat in a private room. The door accidentally left ajar so the staff could peek in. Here, the performance shifted. Less business, more intimacy. He sat close enough that our thighs brushed under the table. His hand found my knee, fingers trailing slow, idle patterns on the inside of my leg that felt anything but idle. We talked in low voices, occasionally laughing. I leaned in, touching his shoulder when I teased him, letting my head fall back when I laughed, exposing my throat. Every move calibrated to say, "This is real." "There's a camera above the entrance," I murmured between courses. "Wider field than they think. We're framed like a painting." "Is the composition flattering?" he asked. "For you?" "Always," I said. "For me, I'm still deciding." He poured me water, the motion intimate. The ring on my finger caught the light and threw it onto his cheek. For a second, the reflection looked like a target. "You're adapting quickly," he said quietly. "Some women spend years in this world and never learn to read the room the way you do." "I'm not some women," I replied. "You picked me for a reason." "I thought I picked you because you were reckless and beautiful," he said, eyes on mine. I didn't realize I was bringing home a strategist. "Flattery will get you more convincing performances," I said. His gaze dipped to my mouth, just for a heartbeat, just enough. "Is that so?" he murmured. Before I could come up with a deflecting comment, the door slid fully open. A staff member bowed, then stepped aside. Behind him, wheeled on a velvet-covered cart, was a massive floral arrangement. White lilies, blood-red roses, twisted branches sprayed gold. At its center, a single black envelope. My internal alarms blared. "For the future Mrs. Kong," the staffer said nervously. "Deliver with the compliments of your brother." He looked at Min-ho, then dropped his gaze quickly. The room went cold. "Leave it," Min-ho said. His voice could have frozen the Han River. The door closed. For a second, neither of us moved. The smell of flowers was suffocating. "Don't touch it," I said. "Bomb?" he asked. "Worse," I said. "Sentiment." I picked up the envelope carefully, fingers on the edges. No weight irregularities, no obvious powder, no wires. I slid my finger under the flap and opened it. Inside was a photograph. Old, creased at the corners. A young woman, maybe 20, standing by the river. She looked Korean, hair in loose waves, smile bright and unguarded. On the back, a single line in Korean, written in Ji-hoon's sharp, impatient script. You remember how loving one of them ended last time? I turned the photo so he could see. All the color drained from his face. Where did he get this? He whispered. The answer slid into place before I could stop it. He's been in your office, I said. Recently. Or he has someone who has. His jaw clenched so tight a muscle jumped. The archives, he said. He's baiting you as much as me. I held his gaze. Then it's time I finally see what you've been hiding, I said quietly. No more performances. No more tests. Show me your world, Min-ho. All of it. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded once. Tonight, he said, after dinner, you'll get your archives. He reached across the table and took my hand again, threading our fingers together, raising them to his lips. From the doorway's camera, it would look like a lover's. Reassuring kiss. Up close, I felt his breath on my skin, heard the words he breathed against my knuckles, too soft for any microphone. If I give you everything, he murmured, you'll have the power to destroy me. Already had that. I replied, just as quietly. I'm still here. His lips brushed my hand once, the barest touch, a promise or question. Then perhaps, he said, pulling back, voice loud enough now for the walls to hear. It's time we stop pretending this is only a game. Night wrapped itself around Seoul like a velvet glove by the time we returned to the penthouse. From this high up, the city looked almost innocent. Lights blinking like stars, traffic a slow-moving constellation. It was the kind of view meant to make you forget what was happening in the shadows below. Inside, the air felt heavier, charged. Every step I took echoed my own heartbeat. Min-ho walked ahead, shoulders squared, hands in his pockets like he was just coming home from any other business dinner. He wasn't, and we both knew it. The West Wing, I said quietly. Your office. He paused, just for a second, then continued walking. I told you before, he said, voice even. Anyone unauthorized who enters there gets their arm broken by the security system. I'm authorized now, I answered. Aren't I? He looked back at me. The distance between us was 10 paces. It felt like a mile. If you step into that room, he said slowly, there's no going back to pretending. You understand that, don't you? I held his gaze. I crossed that line the moment I tackled you in your father's courtyard. I said, open the door, Min-ho. He studied me for a long, assessing beat. Then he nodded. Stay close. We walked down a corridor I hadn't been allowed to touch before. The lights here were softer, warmer. Old art on the walls. Ink paintings, delicate ceramics in recessed niches. This part of the penthouse felt different. Less curated for intimidation, more personal. At the end of the hall, a dark wooden door waited. Unmarked, unassuming. A single biometric panel glowed faintly beside it. He pressed his thumb, then leaned forward for a retinal scan. The lock clicked with a satisfying finality. Last chance to run, he murmured. I don't run, I said. He opened the door and let me step in first. The office was bigger than I'd imagined. Floor-to-ceiling shelves lined 2 walls, filled with leather-bound notebooks, thick files, and hard drives in custom cases. One entire wall was a digital display. Maps, numbers, ports, names. A living, breathing nervous system of an empire. In the center stood a massive black desk. Behind it, thick glass overlooking the city. Before it, a low table and 2 chairs, arranged like a therapy session gone very wrong. This wasn't just an office. It was a confession booth. Welcome to my brain, he said. I walked in slow circles, eyes tracking everything. The pattern of the colored pins on the map. The languages coded into the side notes. The dates layered like sedimentary rock. This doesn't just track your business, I said. It tracks everyone else's. My father believes in brute force, he replied. I believe in information. Ports, shell companies, alliances, betrayals. I know which senator's son owes us money, which cop's brother works my docks, which judge is cheating on his wife. Knowledge is leverage. Leverage is survival. And the archives? I asked. He moved to the far shelf and pressed a hidden latch. A panel slid aside, revealing a narrow, secured cabinet. He pulled out a plain black folder and placed it on the desk between us. My stomach tightened. Before you open it, he said, understand this. What's in there can destroy me. And a lot of other people. The agency you work for would tear the world apart to get it. I went very still. My fingers hadn't moved toward the file yet. I hadn't looked away from his face. You knew, I said quietly. Not everything, he answered. Not at first, but enough. He stepped closer, slow, like I was something wild that might bolt. The way you moved at the gala, the tech in your purse, the way you understood my father's tests in minutes when others take years. You didn't smell like someone who just got lucky. And tonight, when you called that sniper's position before my own man, he shook his head once. You're not just some unfortunate girl I dragged here for a fake wedding. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. How long? Since the elevator, he said. I didn't know who you worked for. Tradecraft said you weren't with any of our usual enemies. But I knew you weren't clean, and you still brought me here. I demanded. You still put a ring on my finger and told your father you'd marry me? His eyes burned into mine. You saved my life, he said simply. Twice now, until you put a bullet in my head or hand me to your superiors. That counts for something. I exhaled sharply, anger and relief and something else twisting together. You have an interesting approach to self-preservation, I said, offering your throat to the knife. I didn't offer, he replied. I decided where the knife stands. That's different. He tapped the folder. Open it, agent, he said softly. See what you came for. My hands moved before my brain could stop them. The file opened with a faint crackle of paper. Inside, names, account numbers, flowcharts of money and product weaving through continents. Dossiers on foreign officials. Photos of men shaking hands in dark rooms. And then my breath stuttered. On the third page, branded in red ink, was a logo I knew too well. Not from the criminal world, for mine. My agency's emblem. Documents detailed payments. Off-book operations. A list of acceptable collateral damage signed off by someone very high up. Missions that were never supposed to exist. Funded partially through conch shell companies. This can't be real, I whispered. It's all sourced, he said. Double verified. Your people and mine have been in bed a long time, Nia. Maybe not the same division you work for, but the same house. I flipped pages faster now. There was Lagos operation, the mission where my partner died. Intelligence flagged as supplied via a third-party logistics contact, K-Group. A side note, field agent X expendable if mission integrity compromised. My vision tunneled. Expendable, I said, the words scraping my throat. She had a name. I know, he said quietly. A fresh wave of nausea hit. How long have you been keeping this? I asked. Using this? Years, he answered. Carefully. If I release it all at once, the world would burn. Governments would disavow. Allies would turn. Chaos is bad for business. But as leverage, it's priceless. And me. I forced out. What was I supposed to be in your ledger? A useful idiot? A bargaining chip? He moved so fast I almost flinched. One moment he was on the other side of the desk. The next he was in front of me, hands braced on either side of the folder, caging it. And me, between his arms. You think I knew your name before that gala? He demanded. You think I set you up? No. Your agency sent you like they send everyone. Blind, righteous, convinced you're the only clean hands in a dirty world. His voice dropped. They didn't tell you they take my money when it suits them. Or that they help me move pieces when your politicians are too cowardly to do it themselves. Rage vibrated under my skin. At him, at them, at myself. So what now? I asked. You show me my house is rotten and expect me to just switch teams? I expect you to use your brain, he said. You're a weapon, Nia. Sharpened, aimed, fired without being told the real target. Now you know. What you do with that is your choice. Silence. My phone buzzed in my pocket, as if summoned by the words. The secure line. The one they only used when they wanted something ugly. I didn't move. Aren't you going to answer? He asked. I took it out slowly, staring at the screen. No name. Just a code. A 0. I put on speaker and set on the desk between us. Nia, came my handler's voice. Clipped, professional, threaded with static. Status. Alive, I said. My own voice sounded far away. Objective. My eyes flicked to the file, to his hands still braced around it, to his face. Waiting. Embedded, I said. Deeper than expected. We've been monitoring, the handler replied. Public engagement announcement. Rapid access to inner circle. Good work. The praise felt dirty. There's been an escalation, I said. Attempted hit at the family estate. We saw the reports, the voice answered. Unrelated to primary objective. Focus. Unrelated. Someone had shot at us twice. But if it wasn't in their plan, it didn't matter. Change of scope, the handler continued. Intel confirms Kang's attendance at private summit in 10 days. Multiple syndicate heads. Opportunity window is limited. I thought the mission was extraction of financial data, I said slowly. Objectives evolve, the handler answered. You're close to him. Closer than expected. We're greenlighting full removal. I went very still. Clarify, I said. Target elimination authorized, the handler said. Primary, Minho Kong. Secondary, data retrieval if possible. You'll receive delivery package with tools and exit strategy. After completion, you'll be Ghost Protocol. New identity, full extraction. They were asking me to assassinate him. Using proximity they never expected to gain so quickly. Using whatever this was between us. Understood, the voice pressed. I looked at him. The man my agency had just turned into a human checkmark. He didn't look surprised. Or afraid. His face was unreadable. Understood, I said. The line clicked off. We stood in the humming quiet of the office, phone between us like a weapon. They just ordered you to kill me, he said calmly. They just ordered me to do my job, I replied. And will you? He asked. I should have answered yes. No hesitation. That's what I've been trained for. But the word snagged on something in my chest. I don't know yet, I said honestly. He exhaled once, a humorless sound. At least you're honest. He stepped back, putting space between us, and closed the folder. So this is the betrayal, he said softly. Yours. Theirs. Mine. Take your pick. It doesn't have to be, I said. You have leverage. They do too. There's a way out that doesn't end with a body in the river. He looked at me like I'd suggested we grow wings. In my world, he said, there are only 3 exits. A cell, a coffin, or a throne. And what do you want? I asked. Honestly, if you stripped away your father, your brother, this office, the guns, the ports, what does Minho Kong want at 3 in the morning when no one is watching? His jaw worked. For a long time, he said, I wanted revenge. For my mother. For what this family made me. Then I wanted control. To stop being a puppet. Lately, he stopped. Lately, I pressed. Lately I've wanted. He shook his head slightly. Something I can have. Try me, I said. His eyes found mine. Dark, tired, clear. To not be a monster, he said. To not be the story they tell their children to scare them. But men like me don't get redemption arcs, Nia. We get footnotes in classified files. I thought of the folder. Of my own file somewhere redacted cold. Maybe, I said, if all the monsters are on one side of the line and all the saints on the other, none of this works. Maybe we've all been standing on the wrong side. You started to sound like someone ready to betray her own house, he said. Maybe my house betrayed me first. I shot back. Silence pooled again. Jihoon isn't going to wait 10 days, I said finally. That photo, the flowers, he's accelerating. If my agency is moving their timeline up, he'll feel that pressure too. We're running out of room. He repeated. Like it or not, we're tied together now, I said. I touched the ring. You made sure of that. And if your best move is to slit my throat in my sleep, he asked quietly. Will you do it? I swallowed. If I decide to kill you, I said, it won't be in your sleep. His gaze searched mine for something. Fear, maybe. Or conviction. Instead, he found a woman caught between 2 worlds, both of them burning. Then we have 10 days, he said. 10 days before your people come for their prize. 10 days before my brother makes his move. 10 days before my father chooses which son to keep. He smiled then, sharp and tired. Plenty of time, he said, for a deadly betrayal. I closed the folder gently. Or, I said, meeting his eyes, for a different ending. He studied me, and for the first time, there was something like hope in his gaze. Fragile. Dangerous. Then let's see, he murmured, which one of us betrays the other first. Outside the glass wall, the city shone on, indifferent. Inside that office, between the secrets and the threats and the paths to ruin, something else had taken root. Not trust, not yet, but the possibility of it. And possibilities, in our world, were the deadliest things of all. The package arrived the next morning. It was waiting on the kitchen counter when I walked in, a plain, unmarked box that didn't belong to any of Minho's meticulously curated spaces. No sender, no stamp, no courier I could question. Just a silent square of cardboard in the center of all that glass and chrome. He stood on the opposite side of the island, staring at it like it might bite. "Yours or mine?" he asked. "Mine," I said. "Definitely mine. We regarded it the way people regard unexploded bombs." "Open it," he said. "You want to stand back a little for dramatic effect? I want to see what your people think you need to kill me," he replied evenly. "Fair point." I pulled the box closer. No weight anomalies, no ticking, no powder leak. Agency kits were rarely sloppy. Inside, I knew, would be everything they thought necessary for a clean job and a clean exit. I sliced the tape, folded back the flaps. A compact pistol with a suppressor, broken into parts. My preferred model. They'd been paying attention. A small vial of clear liquid with a digital label. 0.5 milliliters / cardiopulmonary arrest within 90 seconds. Untraceable in standard talk screens. A set of forged passports. Plane tickets. Cash. A new phone, sterile and inert. And neatly stacked beneath it all, a thin folder marked in red. Exit protocol. Agent in. I almost laughed. They'd packed my escape more carefully than my deployment. "You travel light," Minho observed. "That's the point," I said. He picked up the vial, held it to the light. The liquid clung to the glass with slow, viscous grace. "This one's mine, I assume?" he asked. "Could be anyone's," I said. In a crowded room, slipped into the wrong glass, accidents happen. And the gun. Insurance. He set the vial down gently, almost reverently. "Your agency is very thorough. They like certainty," I said. "Chaos makes bureaucrats nervous." His gaze flicked to the exit folder, then back to my face. "And you?" he asked. "Does chaos make you nervous?" "It keeps me awake," I replied. "There's a difference." We stared at each other over the open box. "Close it," he said finally. "We have work to do. Teaching me how to hold your hand properly?" I asked. "And more," he said, the same words he'd used before, but they sounded different now, weighted by what lay between us on the counter. The next days fell into a strange rhythm. By daylight, we refined the performance. He took me to every corner of his world that mattered. Ports, offices, casinos, quiet tea houses where old men in expensive suits played beduck and decided futures. We learned the choreography of a couple under constant observation. I learned when to touch his arm lightly, when to lean in as if I were whispering something wicked. I practiced the easy, unconscious intimacy of a woman who knew which scar under his shirt to avoid, which joke made him actually laugh instead of just curl his mouth. He, in turn, learned me. He noticed when my smile got a shade too tight, signaling I'd spotted a threat. He adjusted our route if he saw me clocking an exit that was too obvious. If I shifted my weight half an inch closer, his hand would find my waist as if pulled by gravity, turning us both out of line of sight I didn't like. We never spoke about these micro-adjustments. We didn't have to. They lived in the space between us, in the hum of awareness that never fully shut off. At night, in his office, we traded information like blows. He showed me ships that didn't exist on any public manifest. I showed him how my agency built shadows over their own crimes. He walked me through the web of Korean clans, which lines of blood meant loyalty and which only meant eventual betrayal. I mapped for him the way Western agencies carved up the globe like a carcass and labeled it stability. "Your people call this justice," he said one night, tapping a line on a chart linking a senator's campaign fund to a shell corporation in Macau. "Mine call it tribute. They call it plausible deniability," I corrected. "Justice is the word they use in press conferences. Language is a useful lie," he said. "So is love," I shot back. His eyes met mine. "Is it?" he asked softly. I looked away first. On the fourth day, Ji-hoon finally made his move. We were at one of the riverfront properties, a sleek glass tower that housed offices on the lower floors and expensive apartments on top. Publicly, it belonged to a development company. Privately, it was a meeting ground where deals were made in boardrooms and bedrooms alike. The elevator doors opened on the 27th floor to a hallway already primed with tension. 3 of Minho's men stood outside the conference room, shoulders tight, eyes sharper than usual. "Problem?" Minho asked. "Your brother arrived early," Lou said, "and he brought extra guests." "Define extra," I said. Lou's gaze flicked to me, then back to his boss. "Enough that if we start a war here, the river will be closed for a week," he said. "Perfect," I muttered. I was worried today might be boring. Inside the conference room, glass walls overlooked the city. At the head of the long table, lounging in a chair like it was a throne he'd stolen for fun, sat Ji-hoon. He rose when we entered, smile already sharp. "Hyung," he said warmly, "and my beautiful future sister-in-law. You're glowing. Is it love or the stress of knowing you'll be a widow soon?" I resisted the urge to reach for the gun I wasn't carrying. Minho's hand slid, almost casually, to the small of my back, grounding, claiming. "Little brother," he said, "to what do I owe the pleasure of this infestation?" Ji-hoon spread his arms. "Family," he said, "and an opportunity. I thought we should talk, man to man." And his eyes slid over me, lingering a beat too long. "Accessory." I smiled cold and bright. "Careful," I said. "Some accessories are sharp." His gaze lit, intrigued. "Oh, I like her," he said. "She'll make an excellent widow." Behind him, 3 men I recognized from surveillance photos leaned against the glass. Busan clan. Ambitious, hungry, always circling for a weakness. This wasn't just a brotherly visit. It was a show of strength. "Speak your piece," Minho said. "I have a schedule." Ji-hoon sauntered closer, hands in his pockets. "I heard a rumor," he said, "that you're planning to attend a little gathering in 10 days. Very exclusive, very dangerous. Some might say fatal." He was fishing, or he knew more than he should. "Business rumors bore me," Minho said. "Try harder." "Oh, this isn't business," Ji-hoon said softly. "This is about legacy, about who wears father's ring when he's too old to lift his hand." He leaned in, too close, voice dropping. "You're walking into a trap," he murmured. "Some of our dear international friends have decided one Kong is enough. They're backing a horse. Guess which one?" My skin prickled. "You talk too much," Minho said, "especially when you think someone's watching." "Someone is always watching," Ji-hoon replied, flicking a glance toward the ceiling cameras. "Isn't that right, sister?" He'd done his homework. He knew I saw every lens, every angle. "You must be very confident to discuss patricide on tape," I said lightly. "Not patricide," he corrected. "Succession. Father's heart won't survive much more stress. Imagine how it will feel when he realizes his golden son walked into a room full of knives he thought were allies." He turned away, headed for the window. "I came to offer you a choice, Hyung," he said. "Skip the summit. Stay home. Let someone else take the bullet this time. I'll even send flowers to the funeral, very tasteful." "And in exchange?" Minho asked. "In exchange," Ji-hoon said, turning back, "you publicly transfer control of the docks and the in-city protection to me. You keep your little art imports, your quiet dealings. I take the heat, the glory, the blood." "It's a terrible offer," I said before I could stop myself. 3 pairs of eyes cut to me. "Excuse me?" Ji-hoon asked, amused. "If he accepts, he paints a target on your back and turns us into a museum piece," I said. "Useless but valuable enough to steal. The clans respect the one who stands in the fire, not the one who sits in a gallery." His smile sharpened. "I do like you," he said. "It's a shame you chose the wrong brother." He took a step closer to me. Minho's fingers pressed harder on my back. Not a threat, a warning. "Tell me," Ji-hoon murmured, "when they sent you here, did they really think you'd be able to tell us apart?" That slipped. My pulse jumped. "They who?" I asked, keeping my tone light. He tilted his head. "Oh, secrets, secrets," he sing-songed. "You think I don't know a foreign blade when I see one? Father may be old, Hyung may be sentimental, but His eyes glittered. "I read the files they don't know I have." He knew. Maybe not everything, but enough. Careful, I said quietly. If you pull too hard at some threads, the whole world unravels on your head. I'm counting on it, he replied. He stepped back, spreading his arms again. 10 days, young, he said. Take my offer, avoid the summit, live long enough to become boring. Or go, and let the world decide which of us it wants to keep. He winked at me. And you, sister, try not to die before the wedding. I have such plans for your eulogy. When the door finally closed behind him and his entourage, the room felt bigger and smaller at once. Well, I said, that was subtle. Minho stared at the glass where his brother's reflection had been. He's made his move, he said. Tied his fate to foreigners who think they can choose Korea's devils for us. Which means the summit is a kill box, I said. For you. And for anyone standing next to me, he added. My hand drifted almost unconsciously to the spot on my arm where the bandage had been days before. Your agency wants you to use that kill box, he said. They think they can aim you and walk away clean. My brother wants to let others do the killing and walk away king. He looked at me. What do you want, Nia? He asked. Because in 10 days, you don't get to stand on the sidelines. You choose a side, or it chooses you. I met his gaze, feeling the weight of the ring, the ghost of the gun in a box on my shelf, the quiet fury of a Legos file burned into my brain. I said slowly, to walk out of that summit with you still breathing and my old life burning behind me. And I want everyone who turned both of us into weapons to choke on the smoke. His eyes searched mine, and something dark and bright sparked there. Ambitious, he said. Terrible habit of mine, I replied. Then we have 9 days, he said, to rewrite a story that's already been written. He offered his hand, not as a lover this time, not as a captor, but as something dangerously close to a partner. I took it. Let's give them an ending they didn't plan for, I said. And for the first time since I'd walked into this world, the betrayal I was planning wasn't aimed at the man beside me. It was aimed at everyone who'd ever believed they could script our deaths from a safe distance. Plans rarely survive first contact with reality. Ours was no exception. 9 days later, the summit rose out of the seaside mist like something dragged from an old legend, an ultra-modern glass complex built around an ancient cliffside shrine. Old gods and new money sharing the same air. On paper, I was the decorative fiancé. In practice, I was carrying 3 lives in my hands. His, mine, and the version of me my agency thought still existed. As we stepped onto the terrace, every head turned. Clans from Busan, Incheon, overseas outfits with tailored suits and dead eyes. Somewhere among them, my handler, under a cover name. You still have that vial? I murmured without moving my lips. In my pocket, he said. You, gun. 2 extra mags. Enough secrets in my head to end several governments. Overachiever, he said softly. The formalities began. Toasts. Calculated flattery. I tracked the angles. Ji-hoon working the room with a predator's ease, leaning a fraction too close to the foreign delegates backing him. His eyes flashed once in our direction, full of promise. When the host called for a private session of principals only, the circle shrank. No handlers, no guards, just the men who thought they owned the board. And me, because I was his future wife. We gathered around a circular table open to the sea. Wind, saw power. Someone poured an aged whiskey none of us would remember the taste of. Our friends have concerns, one foreigner said in practice Korean, about succession, stability, risk. In other words, Minho replied, you want a Kong you can control. An almost smile. We prefer predictability. Then you backed the wrong brother, he said. That was the cue. A gun appeared in Ji-hoon's hand like a magic trick, already aimed at Minho's chest. I was faster. My weapon cleared my jacket and snapped up, not at Ji-hoon, but at the foreigner beside him. The man who'd signed Lagos. The man whose voice I'd heard more than once on encrypted calls. I shot him in the throat. Chaos detonated. Someone else fired at me. Minho tackled me sideways, the bullet scorching past where my head had been. Glass shattered. Shouts in 3 languages ripped through the air. Ji-hoon pivoted, adjusting his aim. Minho rolled, kicked a chair into his brother's legs. My second shot took the gun from Ji-hoon's hand, blood and metal spraying the table. "Stand down," I shouted in English to the foreigners. "This op is burned. Extraction protocol now, or you all die here." For a moment, everything hung suspended. Then one of them, my handler, hair dyed, face different but eyes the same, met my gaze. "Nia," she hissed. "What the hell are you doing?" "Choosing my own target," I said. "And it's not him." Her jaw clenched. Her fingers flexed like she wanted to reach for a weapon and a phone at once. "You're throwing away everything." "You already did," I said. "Lagos. The deal's with Kong money. We're done." Behind me, Ji-hoon lunged for a fallen gun. Minho was closer. He grabbed the vial from his pocket, smashed it into Ji-hoon's open wound instead of anyone's drink. Toxin in blood moves faster than in whiskey. Ji-hoon stared at his brother, disbelief and hatred warring in his eyes as his body seized. "You," he choked. "For mother," Minho said quietly. By the time alarms brought guards flooding in, the foreign backers were already scrambling for deniability, shoving blame onto a rogue Korean element. My handler disappeared in the confusion. I let her go. She'd run back to a burning house. Hours later, in a quiet room overlooking a gray, restless sea, Minho and I stood before his father. The old man looked smaller without his entourage. Older. He took in the blood on Minho's sleeve, the ring on my hand, the absence of Ji-hoon. "So," he rasped, "you chose your own war." "No," Minho said. "I chose not to be anyone's puppet. Yours. Theirs. I'll clean this. Bring everything into one line, or I'll die trying." His father's gaze slid to me. "And you, foreign girl?" he asked. "What do you choose?" "I choose him," I said. "But not this." I gestured toward the world outside. "We're going to burn out the rot, or walk away and let it eat itself." Silence stretched. Then the old man laughed once, the sound like breaking stone. "Arrogant," he said. "Like your mother." He closed his eyes a moment, as if listening to ghosts, then opened them again. "Very well. Take what I built. See if you can live with its weight." We did not bow. We simply turned and walked out together. It took weeks for the dust to settle. Arrests. Accidents. International inquiries that hit walls of classified files. Somewhere my old agency reclassified me. Compromised asset presumed dead. I sent them one message through a channel they thought they'd burned. "Not your weapon anymore." Then I killed that line myself. On a rooftop in Seoul at dawn, the city humming awake below us, Minho slipped a simple band onto my finger. No diamonds. No audience. Just us. "You're sure?" he asked quietly. "This path with me. It won't be clean. Not ever." "I was never clean," I said. "Now at least I know whose blood is on my hands." "And why?" His smile was small and real. "Mrs. Whatever name we settle on," he said, "what do you want our first honest act to be?" I looked out over the city. Ports, alleys, glass towers, old shrines. A place that had made both of us and tried to break us. "Truth," I said. "We expose enough to keep everyone honest. Criminals, governments, all of them. Anonymous leaks. Carefully aimed. No more hidden deals in the dark." "You want to turn our archives into a weapon for everyone," he said. For balance, I corrected. "If everyone's dirty, no one gets to pretend they're pure." He considered that, then nodded. "An empire of leverage," he said. "But this time we decide how it's used." "We?" I repeated. He pulled me close, forehead resting against mine. "No more pretending," he murmured. "No more fake vows. Just the real, dangerous kind," I said. We kissed as the sun broke over the horizon, painting the city gold. Two former weapons, no longer aimed by anyone else. Between power and pride, a new story began. And for once, it belonged to us.